Hello, 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 and welcome back to Workaholics. I am your host, the original Workaholic, Shirley Crawford. That's a lot of years of small business consulting, hanging out here at the Women's Business Center, and joining you all on the radio to talk more about business and what business can do for you. Today, I am very excited because we have a special guest that I have known for some time now. And it's been a pleasure to see her business bloom and grow and to see her grow and expand as well. We have with us Sakenya Best. Welcome to the Work Hardaholic Show with your host, the original Work Hardaholic, Shirley Crawford, author, speaker, and small business consultant for over 20 years, helping you to work hard, play harder, and business better.
Hello. I'm glad to be here.
Okay, so Sakenya is an artist, and you can tell by the way she just said that. We're going to make her give us a little more. She's going to match up with me. She's going to give us a little more. But truth be told, your art speaks for itself. So I understand not being as loud. But we're going to work on it anyway. We're going to let all that personality you put into your artwork come join us audibly today.
Okay.
So I want to start off with just a little basic history. Like, what led you to start your creative endeavors?
It's definitely family that started me off. I'm originally from New York.
We hear it.
Spent first the vowels gives it away. Spent the first decade of my life in New York, and my father's side are the artistic creative types. So they're theater, they're singers, they're dancers.
They're the boisterous ones.
Visual artists. And there was always, if there was two or three, there was always the one quiet one drawing in the corner.
That'll be you.
And then I was one of those. And then there would be another one who would be like dancing and out and singing and just working the room. And so we have a mixture of that with my uncles and then their wives. And so living with art, I had one person say, how did you grow up with art? I lived with it. Everywhere I went, it was grandma's house, or if it was Uncle so-and-so's house, or Aunt so-and-so's house, there was always some type of painting or photograph. And I would just find myself staring at it. And I would there was one particular uncle who would always have a setup in his space. I guess it was his art room. And it was like the recreational room in his apartment.
So no man cave. He had art space.
Yes, he had an art space. And it was always the same painting up. And I'm like, when is he going to finish that painting? And I would see finished work, but I've never seen the progress of it. But I always would just stare at their work. And it was murals and on canvas. In addition to seeing my aunt perform, singing, dance. So it was always around me. And I caught the dance bug as well. But that still didn't require much talking.
We're going to get the talking out of her. I promise. We're going to get the talking out of her. Because she has lots to say.
Yes.
So I have had the fortune to actually have conversation with you and engage you in conversation.
Yes.
So I know it's there.
It is.
We're going to get it for you all. Don't you worry. It's coming. So then you were in New York, living with art. I love that.
Yes.
I do. I love that. I'm going to have to remember that. Living with art. How did that translate to you even coming to Richmond, to Virginia?
Yes. So my mom's side lived here, and we would visit in the summertime. And it got to a point where she wanted to live here. She just didn't want to visit. She wanted to help out her mom, who had a nursing training center, a company. And so she wanted to be a part of that business to help her with it. And so when I came to Virginia, that's when I found out that I did have an accent, that I did use my O's very heavily. And
we all have an accent. It just depends on where are you.
Yes.
That depends on whose accent is right. It's like, where are you?
Yes.
But yes, we definitely hear that you're not from here.
And so then I started taking classes, art classes, in school. Before that, I was drawing a lot. Always had sketchbook or some type of instructional drawing book that I was always copying. And then I had male cousins who were into Marvel comics and what have you, and so they would always draw their comic cards, and I wanted to do it too, and so I would do that often. But when we came to Virginia is when I decided that I wanted to go for the art classes in school that were offered. Mm-hmm. So I started drawing more. I remember my middle school, and I remember my teacher, and she was awesome. And we did clay in there. I will never forget her instruction on how to draw the face in proportion. That was
which is something I never could do. Never.
Yeah, it's definitely sort of like a grid, sort of. It's not a technical grid, but as you make the measurements and see the space, the eyes are five spaces across the face, and the distance from your nose could be the height of 3 eyes or 2 eyes, and then turn it on its side and get the longer part. So it was interesting to see how the spacing worked with the face.
And all the proportioning.
And I became fascinated with that.
I can see why. I had enough challenges just with foreground and background.
Yeah.
It's like, I am great when it comes to line art.
Yeah.
I'm the queen. Stick people. I got it.
Yeah.
But the rest of it, I leave to the professionals.
Yeah. Well, I'm a fan of stick people. Just put some meat on them. I'm a fan, and sometimes that's how my drawings start. Like when I learned how to do gesture drawings, it's all about the line work and the knotting of the lines and the intertwining of the lines to create that mass, that form.
See, I'm on my way. No. But it's okay. I know the artist. I don't have to be the artist. So the thing is, I know when I first met you, I saw more and more of you with dance.
Yes.
And so also I know that when I first met you, you were over at Union, and then you transitioned to VMFA. Okay, I'm sorry. For those of you who are watching or listening and aren't sitting in Richmond, Virginia, let's I know we talked about alphabet soup, now we stopped doing that, so let me start from the beginning. I know that you were over Virginia Union University, and then you were doing work for the Virginia Museum of Fine Art. So what was that journey like?
So before Union, I was at J. Sargent Reynolds Community College. And so just to sort of back up a little bit more so that the journey could make a little bit more sense, I studied art at VCU.
Virginia Commonwealth University. See, I'm going to help you all out.
Yes. And I was in the painting and printmaking department and graduated from there. Then I was working for Parks and Rec as an art specialist. And I worked for the Latin Ballet of Virginia with Anna King. And I did the summer camp classes there with the visual art portion to collaborate with the dance instruction. And
I always love seeing that integration.
Yes. And then I went off to Tennessee to study studio art, printmaking. And I was there for 3 years. Upon my return of coming back to Richmond, I started working at the community college, Reynolds Community College, they call it now, and was there in their art department as one of their visual art. They had the program there, and so I was one of the instructors. And then I met someone that was also teaching at Reynolds in the English area, and they told me about Union and how Union was bringing back their fine arts program or department, and how that I could play a part in that. And so that's how I was introduced to Union. And I was there for 8 years at Union. And it was a dual concentration. So it was, again, the combination of theater, of music, and of visual arts. And so
you went from living with art to
Yeah.
working with art.
Yes.
Just surrounded.
Yes, yes. And my my specialty and expertise was the visual art area. And so teaching the painting studio classes, the printmaking, and also getting adjuncts to teach the classes that I wasn't necessarily in my area: photography, graphic design. And that's how I met. Also, I made those connections. The Latin ballet. I had a friend in the Latin ballet who knew someone who's a dancer as well as a graphic designer.
Oh, wow.
And so, with that connection, I was able to say, "Hey, would you like to adjunct? At Union, things like that." So the connections that I was able to make before I left, and when I came back, and then to help develop the art department there, and it was a great team of professors with us working together, and the students were absolutely creative, had a lot of energy, and
of course, the creatives are always the energetic ones.
Yes,
but
yes.
I love that piece because we always talk about the importance of networking
Mm-hmm.
and connections, and even for those of us who are introverts,
Mm-hmm.
there are lots of us. You still have to make those connections. So I love that example of how you drew together that connections, those networks,
Mm-hmm.
that to bring together the team that you were able to work with.
Yes, absolutely. And the people that I worked with in the other areas in the theater, as well as in music, I'm going to shout out to Margaret Joyner. She's awesome. She's an awesome person. She had the Heritage Ensemble here in Richmond. And so she was my partner in terms of us working together the most, I would say, and really figuring out the curriculum for our art area and how to matriculate the students through the program and how to help them make connections. Okay, so VMFA came in, and me trying to help the students to connect, because a part of their senior year and preparing before their senior year, they had to look for an internship. And so I would create a list of the different art organizations and institutions and even artists that are here in Richmond, and see if they were interested in having a student intern that was receiving credit for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was at JSARJ, I was already a volunteer. I was part of the college connection group. I can't remember the exact name of it right now, but there was a bunch of us from different colleges and universities around Virginia who worked with the education department at the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts to figure out how to get the college students more engaged with the museum. And so knowing that, I decided to continue being that contact person at Union. And so, of course, I had to be a great example. And so
had to make your own connections.
That's right. And really loved their programming. I loved how they worked as a team over there, and loved seeing how my students received from that experience, and just said great things about what they learned. It was a great extension for them to be introduced to how the art world can be for them.
Indeed.
Not just in a school setting, but out in the community.
And that's amazing connection altogether, because some people think, well, Richmond's a little sleepy town, but like the museum has been, they are award winning. I know I saw a posting not too long ago, like they're in the top 10 of museums in the country. And they were especially talking about the Thursday nights. It was jazz, and that was one of the main things they were written up about. And so having that on your resume, kudos to you. So I know that as I look at a lot of the work that you've done so much, and I know we only have so much time, but I recall the book, Paris, wasn't it?
Yes.
There was I saw you do something, and it's been a while, so I have to recall it correctly. But you basically danced a piece of art.
Mhm.
I mean, like, of course, dancing is art,
Mhm.
but this was actually you danced into paint
Mhm.
and created artwork.
Mhm.
Um, so, like, what does that exactly look like? So, even as you think about the creative process
Mhm.
of creating whatever that might be, if it's dance, if it's art, but tell us some more about the things you've created and done and worked with
Mhm.
and brought into the world from your brain to the rest of us out here in 3D.
Yes. So I fell in love with the capturing the human body, the figure. When I was younger in New York, because of the variety of cultures, and no one ever looked the same. I was a starer. So not only was I quiet, but I would rudely, as my parents, just stare at people, and just all in their faces. I'm walking down the street and will run into a pole because I'm staring at someone
Wow.
so intensely.
We normally sit. We call it people watching. I have a set of friends, and that's what we do. We just people watch,
Yes.
but we do it covertly, and we're sitting, so we are
Yes.
saving ourselves from any incidents of running into
Yes,
people.
yes. I was obvious. And in New York, you're always on the move. You're always on the go. And who knows if I would have saw that person again, And so, going using public transportation, and I was always running because I was always late. So, just that idea of always on the go, always on the move, I was always trying to capture and I guess trying to remember people's faces. I used to draw from my imagination more so. But when I started going to school, the idea of looking at the object, studying the actual object, and I would say I was preparing to study intensely by staring at people. But I fell in love with the form then, and then that was what most of my uncles were doing who were visual artists, the human body. As a matter of fact, I found out that the artists that I fell in love with their work, they were in love with their work too. So it was amazing for me. It's amazing for me now to post something on social media and say, I really love this artist. And my uncle goes, yeah, I did such and such and such and such. And that was after this artist. So it's interesting how I never really had a conversation with my uncles about art as, hey, I think this is something I want to do. It was just around me, but I really gravitated toward their style and figured out, and it wasn't planned. Who were their inspirations because they inspired me.
I think that goes back when you said you're living with art.
Yeah.
So you were surrounded and taking this all in.
Yeah.
And so then clearly you probably created your own collage from everything that you picked up from all those things, all that family, all that art.
Yes.
And then we get to see what's created in the Sakenya Best line.
Yeah. So the dance portion was birthed in grad school. I was trying to figure, and I felt like grad school was the time for me to get out of my shell and explore some of the other things that I may not have a chance to ever do again. Because you're paying these fees and tuition, and you have access to all of this equipment and material. So I was collaborating with musicians and dancers and doing performances and going into the library, into the video area, and having them help me create videos of the performances and making DVDs of them. And I was just utilizing everything that I had access to. And so being printmaking, I figured out a way to do these different types of dances. I love Latin music. In New York, it was like booming everywhere. It was all types of music everywhere, but Celia Cruz, Tito Puentes. I mean, it was always happening. And my closest friends were Puerto Rican and Dominican and Jamaican and, of course, other cultures, East Indian. It was always interesting to me. The way that I connected to the cultures was through dance and food. And so I would try out the different dances and take some classes. And so in doing the different dances, I decided to combine African, because I had an aunt who was in a women's group, and she's actually a percussionist, and she would sing, she would play the steel drums. And it's gorgeous. She would create the shaker rays, and she would also
Really?
yes, all the way down to having the gourd, gutting it out, cutting it up, creating the beaded skirt. And so I would see her performances, and I would see the dance, and I took some African dance class here. And my favorite was with Isibu Muntu, of course.
Excellent.
And so I decided to combine salsa and I took flamenco at Latin Ballet with Anna King. And so in Tennessee,
you had all the stars lined up for you.
Combining my previous journey of how can I combine dance and visual art in all of these cultures that I have been touched by and have learned things from. And so I would do one dance that would be salsa, and I would do another dance that would be flamenco, and I would do another dance that would be like a West African dance. And the process was with printmaking, what I was studying. So I would roll ink onto a flat matrix, like a polyurethane or maybe plexiglass that was thick enough to hold my weight.
Okay.
And it would be the floor. And I was buying big slabs. And so I would ink that up, and I would dance barefoot and create these. Well, I would just let the dance be, play music, and try to not think about so much as the form, but just the movement. And because those dances they already had formation in them, all I had to do was make sure that I timed it where I wasn't dancing the whole 3 minutes, but I would be dancing like the whole song, but I would jump on the floor like that 1 minute of climax, so it didn't look like I was taking up all the ink. And so after that floor, I would describe it as an X-ray. It would be like a reduction. Where my foot stepped is where the ink came up.
Yeah.
And so that's the drawn part. And basically my body was literally the drawing tool. Because the weight of your body, especially when you talk about like African dance, the way you center yourself, you could really see the sensitivity of the ink and what it was taking up. Like you could see the detailing in the placement of the sole of that footing. So that was fascinating to me. And so I would put fabric on it. I would put fabric on that footprint, I called it bare soul. Like you're bearing your soul, but it was your bare soul.
I get the double entendre.
Yeah. When you're in grad school, I called myself a mad scientist. So, you thought everything was clever. And so...
it was clever, though.
Yeah, it was. It was. And so I would transfer, because printmaking is all about transferring the image that's on the plate, the inked plate or the matrix. And you can transfer it on paper or fabric. And so I decided to use fabric. And it actually went through a process where it was being put on a bed to go through a press. There's a drum on the press. As you're cranking it through, that pressure from the drum, and you have to calibrate it so that it's going to take up just the right amount of the ink. And you crank it all the way through, and as you crank it through, the pressure is even. And so it goes all the way through the bed. And this big drum has the pressure that you calibrated. And once you take it out and it's gone through the other side of the drum, you lift the fabric up. And what was on the floor, or my floor, was on the matrix, is now on the material. And so I love it.
We're going to have to, so we're going to have to ask you
Yes.
to send us a video.
Okay.
Like, do you have one like in storage somewhere that you can share with us
I
of
have
the
to
process?
look for it. I have to look for it.
You're going to have to dig that up for us.
Yes.
So for those of you who are learning different styles other than auditory, we're going to have to make sure that we have that posted. We'll put it onto either the website or the social media. You know what? We'll take that video and put it on YouTube. Isn't that where we want you all to go? That's what we'll do with that. Okay. So I want to make sure that we talk about a little bit about the business of being an artist.
Mm-hmm.
All right, because there are lots of people out here, and that's what we're all about, right? Work hardaholics. We're all talking about work hard, play harder, business better, right? And so there is the art of it all, right? There are people who I run around singing all the time. I don't think anyone's paying me to do it. There are some people who draw and sketch or create like my little niece wrote her own song and has created her own skit, in there. But she's not an entrepreneur, not yet. How are you able to translate? Like, what does it look like for you, the structure of being a business owner and an artist, or an artist who is a business owner?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's my side hustle, as we talk about, because I am working
We love a good side hustle.
At the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts with the Artmobile, the MFA on the road. What it helps me to do, since it's not my main bread, I should say, but I want it to be, is that I'm able to take time. I think time is very important to me because of trying to, once the job is done, I go home and I paint, and I'm actually working on a commission now of Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears.
I saw that.
Yes.
Thank you. I saw the article that was written. I saw something in the paper not too long ago. See, we're just used to having people just be celebrities all around the place. And it was saying that you were selected to do is it her portrait?
Yes, it's a portrait. First Lady of Virginia, Mrs. Youngkin, asked me to do a portrait of Lieutenant Sears. And I'm so excited. And I'm in the process of working on that right now. But what has helped me has been the Women's Business Center in terms of thinking about it. And as we were talking about even before we started recording, how we met, that's what helped me in terms of figuring out, like, what am I doing? Why am I different? Oh,
that's my favorite question.
What am I going to be called?
That's my favorite question.
Can I make
how
money
are you
off
different,
of this?
and how do you make money?
Yeah,
those are
do
the questions.
I have a website, and how are people going to find me? And so part of that helped me figure out having the right resources and going to the right website. I have an LLC, so I'm Sekenya Best Artistry LLC, and
go ahead and give us your information, your website, social media.
Yes. On Instagram, I'm Sekenya B, SUKENYA _BE. And I'm on, I have a business page on Facebook, Sekenya Best Artist. And
she has a wonderful newsletter that you can subscribe and receive. I receive it.
Yes. It comes out every Monday, and it's meaty, but it's short and to the point, because I don't want to bombard, but I need to spread the news.
That's right.
So I definitely, and it's coming out today. I'm just hanging my show. So I have some pictures announcing the hanging at the Women's Business Center. I am one of the artists. I am the artist for August.
Yes, she is.
They have monthly artists, and I'm working with Taiwan Lee to make sure that my show is up and ready to go today. For the entire month of August. Whenever the center's open, you can come in and view my work.
Yes, and I'm so excited. So I'm waiting for everything to be hung. So I saw Sekenya, she was hanging herself up. I'm like, I'm not gonna come look. Because here's the thing that people don't seem to recognize when it comes to like setting up for a show. They don't just go, oh, let me hang a picture here and hang a picture here. Like there's a flow. There's like, what do I want you to feel? And in our art way, there's actually an end of it. So that you see one painting while you're walking down next to the other one. So it's like, what's the statement? So I'm very excited. I did see 2 of them. I had no choice but to see them. I'm like, I'm not going to look until they're all up so that I too can partake and enjoy the visual, beautiful stimulation that's going to be happening over there.
I would also say, especially if you're, I would say to young people, sometimes I say to my young people because I used to be a professor or teacher. So I would say to the young people, young artists, it's great for you to be creative. It's great for you to have ideas. It's great for you to be confident and feel like you know what you're doing. But it's also as equally important as to have mentors, as to have people who know more, people who can see further, people who have experienced. So along with Shirley, I have awesome mentors that I just visited one maybe 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and I was talking to her, and I've known her since I was 18.
Wow.
So I've known her since I was an undergrad in college, and now I've been through grad school. And now I'm a professional adult, and so but
it's like surprise, you're grown now.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so she was my mentor at VCU, and she always asked me the most important questions. Her name's Lydia Thompson. And I also had another mentor, Alex Bostic, who
I know that name.
You do. He just did the Edmonia Lewis New Forever stamp, the New Forever stamp of Edmonia Lewis.
Gotcha.
And they both worked at VCU, and I'm still in contact with them because what they have is so valuable.
Yeah.
And as a student, and I often would talk to my students about this, it's like I had to gain their trust in order for them to even take me on. And so I was one of those.
Because there's only so much time in the day, and you only want to work with people who are about something. Otherwise, I hate wasting my time.
Yes.
So so for those, I just love that. So for those of you who are looking for mentors, looking to engage, looking to find those people, most of us who are out here are willing, but we're not here for everybody. You have to show your dedication, show your passion, show what it is exactly you're about, and commit. And then most people are willing to commit to you if they can fit you in.
Oh, that's right. That's right. And also just having gratitude, telling them thank you, telling people thank you, and applauding them when something successful happens for them, because they're still active artists and showing and doing big things. And so it's always like, it's always, I would say, super cool. And, I was thinking, should I say that? I sound real young. Hey, I'm going to be myself. It's always super cool to see someone you admire doing amazing things.
Oh, on my end at this point, I get tickled. And that's the only word I can think of. I get really tickled because I look in the paper and I see, clients, people that I've worked with, and I'm like, oh, they're doing this. And oh my goodness, so-and-so's doing this. And oh, so-and-so just won this award. And so from the other side of it, as the mentor, as the consultant, it feels amazing.
Yes.
To be able to look out. And I love to drop a line. I meant to drop you a line. Sorry, Sakenya, if I didn't. To say, great job. Saw you in the paper. And that was amazing.
Thank you. And I know you're always busy. You do so much. So when we do catch up,
we get it all
You shower me when we do catch up. Yes, and I would say even my professors that when I was in grad school and being around my peers, there was such a variety of us, and it was great to see how people worked. What was their work ethic? How did they work? What were they planning to do? And so I had I had peers who came from other countries who were working double time because they knew that they wanted something in the future that they needed to work harder for. And it was just fascinating. And so they would be planning in the summer, they're still working. They're not relaxing in this. Well, yeah, there is some relaxation.
It's in
and
there.
some vacation.
It's in there.
But they was still working, and so I would say the business side of it is trying to figure out a pattern, trying to figure out some type of system that right now that I can work and not be overwhelmed while I'm working, and just trying to figure out also ways of taking care of myself. Like that downtime is important, so that I'm not burning the candle at both ends.
Okay, so I know we are approaching the time where we need to be saying goodbye. One last question for you: how do you put prices on your babies that you're creating?
Right. That's an excellent question, because even I being a part of your Entrepreneur Academy, that really came up, and that was an eye-opener. And part of that process was to look at, who are my healthy competitors, locally, regionally, and then looking at, just the art world in general, because you have a goal, and seeing what your niche is, or seeing what your theme or main idea is for your particular work that makes you different. And so the way I learned was you look at your materials, you dock your time, and you also look at the amount of time, not just creating the work, but the amount of time that you spend researching to do the work. And that was part of the process. But as you begin to look at your market and what paintings, in my case, paintings, are going for, you really have to start valuing yourself more.
Indeed.
Especially if you put time and money into it. So the fact that I went to school, undergrad and graduate school, I invested in this. And I think one of the things that I always say to myself, because I'm a believer, I believe in God and I have faith. I always think about what God said to Moses when he was called to go back to Egypt after he left, and he had been in the wilderness for such a long time, and he felt like he forgot. I can't go back there. I don't know the language anymore. I stutter. I do this. I do that. God said, "What's in your hand?"
That's my favorite.
And so because I work with my hands, I constantly say, well, God is like, what's in my hands? And so I feel like since I've invested with student loans, going to school and spending 3 hours twice a week in studio courses, and the countless hours in getting projects done. VCU, in the beginning, it was like the introduction to boot camp, and so we called it art boot camp, in terms of going through the foundation. So I always used to tell my students, you can't be a lazy artist. You can't be, there's no room for it. And so that's often what I tell myself, what's in your hand? What do you have to work with? And so when I understood my value and the money that I put into it, then I was more confident. And looking at my market, I was like, oh, I can increase that. And so I wanted to think about, one of my mentors said to me, he said, well, you can make multiples. You could do reproductions, or you could do printmaking and have multiples. And the idea is that because you have more, you can charge less for it. And so it's like having a scale of having 10 marbles and then having like a heavier ball, one heavier ball on one end, and then like 10 marbles on the other end? Do you want to have more of multiples and have it sell it at a certain price, or do you want to have this one thing and increase the price? And so I had to make a decision in terms of who's my market.
Mm-hmm.
That was part of our conversation. And how many paintings do I want to make in a year? And, you know, especially with time. And so I started looking at my original authentic work, my creations. And you know what? I didn't get too, I've learned how not to get too caught up in my babies. I had one professor say to me, you know, part of her training, she had classical training. She was Georgian. She was like, they used to have us rip up our drawings after we did it so that we wouldn't be so attached. I'm not there yet, but
no, I don't think I'd ever be there.
I think I learned the lesson in terms of what she was saying is, you know, you're creating so that these things can be out.
So that you can send them out into the world.
Yes, and so that people can buy them.
Indeed. And for those people who are looking to buy them, please tell them. So once again, you can come in. When will the be showing be up? It'll be up today?
Yes. I'm finishing hanging the show, installing the show today. And so it'll be up every day, available to view every day that the business center is open.
We're open Monday through Friday, but we're often here 7 days a week. That's another story. So right now, you all can get ready. If you are in the Richmond area, if you're anywhere near Richmond, if you're near Virginia, you can come by the Women's Business Center, 1510 Willow Lawn Drive, directly across the street from the Kroger at Willow Lawn, to view some gorgeous. I saw I told you I did a little peep. I didn't look a lot, but the first one I saw was gorgeous. So Kenya has these beautiful pieces of art, and I wish we had more time so she could tell you about the process. Like, I've heard part of it. But maybe we'll have a part 2 on another occasion. But for now, you can come by and check out the artwork here at the Women's Business Center, or you can go once again onto the website at
SukenyaBestArtistry.com. SukenyaBestArtistry.com.
We'll make sure you know exactly how it's spelled. And if not that, I know you said for your Instagram, I am Sukenya B.
For Instagram, it's Sukenya_BE.
See, I just want to put in the I am. And we want to say once again, thank you so very much. This has been a fun conversation. Glad you were able to join us. Looking forward to you all learning more about Sukenya. Go visit her website, check out her social media. And we thank you for the beauty you bring into the world, because your artwork is amazing and gorgeous. And it brings a light and love that we might not have noticed before.
Oh, thank you, Shirley.
It's true.
I value the Women's Business Center, RVA,
whoop, whoop,
here, and what you are doing in terms of encouraging us, correcting us, pushing us, so that we can do things in a professional manner. And so I'm always happy to show here. This is my second time showing at the Business Center, and it was in August last time too.
Was it really?
Yes. And so I'm just elated to be a part of this community and to be able to share my art here again.
So we're saying thank you again to Sukenya Best, and we'll see you all the next time on Work Hardaholics. As we always say, live better, do better, be better, and happy entrepreneuring. Ta-ta! Like, share, subscribe, repeat. Like, share, subscribe, repeat. Like, share, subscribe, repeat. 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 Thanks for tuning in to Work Hardaholics. Support our show by following on YouTube and all major social media platforms at Work Hardaholic. Until next week, happy entrepreneuring.